Welcome back, everyone, to another scenario from Lock and Load Heroes in Normandy. This is scenario 2, actually. We did scenario 1 a little while ago. We're going to do scenario 2. This is called Overlord Begin. So buckle up, it's story time. The outskirts of Benoiville, France, June 6th, 1944. After months of rehearsals, Delta Company of the Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire Light Infantry, familiarly referred to as Ox and Bucks, under Major John Howard, lifted off in towed horse gliders during the later hours of June 5th, headed towards the coast of France. Their assignment: seize and hold the Cairn Canal Bridge until relieved. Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of Western Europe, had begun. Nice. So that's what we have right here. We're going to take a look just at the setup. Yeah, I am aware of glare, and it's just because I got this really high overhead light that I can't really do anything with. So I apologize. Also, I pulled the camera back just a little bit. I felt like it was too close last time. But this, I don't know, trying to find an in-between for camera height is kind of a pain. But what we'll do is let's take a look here at what we have on the map. So first of all, this is maps 14 and 17. And German, I had a German stack here that it said it could place anywhere on map 14 or anywhere west of this river on map 17. Well, there's one of those event markers and a house. So I figured I'll just stick the stack there. So this stack contains specifically an MG42. It does contain 3 164 squads, and it contains Sergeant Bowman. So this is like a platoon. Boom. Platoon is in the house. I'm sure I could split them up later. Then on the bridge, we have excuse me, a 054 and then an MG42, kind of defending that end of the bridge. And then, yeah, I don't have to move the camera too much. That's why I pulled this back, so I didn't have to move the camera as much, I hope. Over here we have a wire. Now, it said that there was a wire in a foxhole. Nothing in the foxhole. I thought that's kind of weird. They're empty. So I guess in play, I'm going to have to break my platoon up, have some people rush over. Problem is, as I'm learning new rules, each scenario seems to add a little bit more for me to learn. Wire costs 4 movement points. See, because I got another wire and another empty foxhole. So it's almost like I could run up to the hex, and then on the next turn we could occupy the foxhole. I guess the wires there, it would just make it really hard for people to try and assault you for melee, because it got wire. I mean, it makes sense. It's just that they're not starting with troops. And I read it and I don't see it saying. Yeah, it just says like 1 foxhole and a wire, but it doesn't say put people in the wire. So anyway, or in the foxholes. And then there's another event marker here, and both of these are occupation events, and they're both for British, and they're both in a house. And then we have here a bunker on the other side of the bridge, and it's facing, I mean, it makes sense because it's kind of facing the road here, this direction. So, I mean, like if we had people coming, this way, that would kind of make sense. So, anyway, we basically have a company defending the bridge. Well, like a good platoon, because there's several squads. We got a platoon covering this bridge. So what are the British bringing? All right, well, let's take a peek. The British, on the other hand, they are bringing a company. So they're going to have 3 horse gliders that we mentioned. This first glider has Lord Holmes in it, and each glider is going to carry 3 squads that are all assault move capable. They're very gung-ho. In this plane with Lord Holmes, they are carrying a Piat launcher, and yeah, that's the Piat. and then another squad is carrying a Bren. And then in this squad, or platoon, they have Captain McLeod, and he has the decisive skill, which we'll look up later when we need it. I don't need it right this second. Then he also has 3 squads, and one of his squads also has a Piat, and it's got another squad, but they have a Bren. So all of these are going to be carrying a Bren. And then this third squad, I mean, it's the same setup, except they have, if I can find it in the stack, they've got the 51 millimeter mortar. Now this mortar is interesting because it's not like a fire for effect mortar. It doesn't use offboard artillery rules or anything like that. It basically, you can fire it indirectly. It has some rules on that. If person next to you, adjacent to you, can see the target, you can fire indirectly with it. But it does also say you can fire directly. It could be part of like a fire group. So it add its firepower of 2. It doesn't have, you don't do half firepower for it if it fires with a group. And in fact, once you have your firepower, you roll an additional 2d6, pick the higher die, and add that, because apparently you're shooting, like dropping in several rounds of fire. So that mortar could come in handy. And then the Piats are going to probably be used on the bunker, I'm assuming. The bunker gives +2 defense. That's really hard to crack. Well, why is all of that important? Well, let's take a look at the layout here of the German setup. The Germans are concentrated around this bridge. The problem is the scenario says I have to have no German troops, well, no good order German troops, anywhere within 3 hexes of the bridge. So, you know, it kind of gives me a radius I have to control on either side of the riverbank. That would mean this bunker is kind of a pain. Bunker rules I had to learn, because that's something new here. Not terribly complicated. Basically, they have a very strong defense with these 3 hexes in front of them. And it basically says your inherent firepower is not, or yeah, your inherent firepower for like your infantry doesn't work in the front, because you know they're pinned down by fire and whatnot, unless you have like a Piat, which can get it from the sides, rears, things like that. And I'm going to have to figure out how to move people across the bridge and try and assault the bunker, you know, try to get behind it or move onto it. Because once you're in the hex with the bunker, then they can fight each other. But if I put people here in front of the bunker, it's kind of a pain. So the bunker's there. So really, this game didn't add too much to the rules. Just added a couple of extra terrain pieces to learn. So wire, all I learned about wire really is if I had a vehicle, I could run the wire over and remove it at some point. Foxholes add +1 cover if you can get into it. They don't restrict directional fire or anything like that, so foxholes are pretty useful actually. I just had to put people in them. Let's see. Oh, and then for this scenario, it says specifically nighttime. We can see 3 hexes. Normal nighttime rule, you can only see out to 3 hexes, but this will allow us to see out to 2. I need to put like. Problem is, if I block the glare, I block my light. Dang. So I really do apologize for that glare. I don't know. Trying to shift and fiddle. Yeah, well, like I said, I'll just try and be aware of it when doing things to keep glare directly off of stuff. But what are the British going to do? Well, the British have to land the gliders, and there are some glider rules that we have. One of the things we got to do is pick landing zones, and then you have to make a morale check and then modify it by terrain. So let's take a look at some spots I found. Gliders apparently work really good if you land in clear spots. I don't think, I have to look at the terrain here, these fields. I don't actually think those will be much of a problem. Those are what? Low crops, degrading. Yeah. So I could actually land some gliders, because what you do is you're going to put your glider like here, for example, and then you look in their hex they're landing and go back a couple hexes for terrain modifiers. because you want to try to land in clear open spots. And so these terrain modifiers would go against a morale check that you have to do, and the gliders have a morale of 7. So luckily, these cultivated fields don't have any modifiers. And then let's say we put like a glider here, because we're going to land past the house, but I'll have a couple of clear spots and try to land the glider. Then, but we got a large concentration of Germans up here at the bridge that are kind of off camera a little bit. So I might be thinking about where to put the last glider. Do I want to put stuff close to that? It's just that on the other side of the map, I don't actually have a lot of open options. I mean, I was looking here because this is clear, that's clear, and that's clear. And then it says there's no bocage. Everything is treated as hedges. And then on map 17, just remembering some areas, all of these marsh areas are actually going to be considered clear terrain. And then again, I think it also said there's no hedges on map 17, so just ignore hedges. There's a lot of clear open land. I'd have to reread that. So no bocage, hedges. So what I could do is, well, actually, right up here, I've got a spot. Clear, clear, clear. And then that might not be a problem at all. And then we can start moving away. I'm also going to move, I'm going to put a glider, excuse me, right here. Yeah, so we're going to spread our troops out a little bit. So we're going to have a glider here, one in the middle, right there, and then we're going to put a glider over here. Ooh, okay, so let me take a moment to put the squads here. So we're going to land, I'm going to land Lord Holmes over here. So we'll do his morale check in a moment. And then this middle group. See, I'm gonna put all these squads first because they should be with the glider. I just put the glider first to kind of plan out where we're landing. So some guys back at headquarters said, here's your landing coordinates. Make magic happen. So I said, okay, cool. And then I'm going to place the troops under there. That way, I'm committed, you know, because I think that's how it's supposed to be, but that makes sense because now these troops are committed to landing here as close as possible. All right, so let's take a moment, look at the glider rules, and then make some rolls and see how close we got to our intended landing zones. All right, I just kind of went back, read the rules. They do, it's not that they have a lot of rules, but again, it's just a few things I want to make sure we get good. If I had a different map and I was landing closer to the Germans, then I would be checking for things, you know, like their support weapons would add some modifiers to the landing because it simulates that they're shooting up at the gliders, some anti-aircraft. So I've actually got these positioned in such a way that we're not close enough to be seen because again, our nighttime vision is limited to 3 hexes. This unit here, this stack, let's just shift the camera a little easier to see him. Oh. So we are actually 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So we're pretty close. Now, if I fail my morale check, there's a possibility I could drift forward and then land and be within range of them. But as it stands right now, we're good. One thing I did do, I kind of cheated. I committed them. I haven't rolled yet, but I've decided that we're going to land here. I was actually here, and then these 2 cultivated, they don't count as clear. But if I just move over one column here, one row, I now have 2 clear spaces behind me. So that will just kind of boost my chances of landing. Excuse me, I could have picked like anywhere over here because I got a lot of open land. I just figured I'd go here. But what do? It says when you make your morale check, and the roll is going to be a 7 because the morale is 7, you add 1 for nighttime. So I'm going to have +1 on my die roll. And then you subtract 1 for every clear hex behind you. So every one of these drop zones I picked has 2 clear hexes, whether it's roads or just open terrain, and that's why I moved away from the cultivated. So we actually have a -1 bonus for each one of these drops. which means I think I will land in all of my spots. If the scenario was different and I was landing closer to troops, enemy troops, or there weren't a lot of clear spots, there would be big penalties and I would probably not be able to land my troops. But as it stands, adding, basically subtracting 1 from my roll, I'm not going to fail any of these morale checks because the most I can get is 6 on a dice and then subtract 1 because of the clear open terrain, even though I'm adding +1 for nighttime. So actually, after speaking it out with you, I guess I don't need to roll the dice. They land in their hexes. Woohoo! What does that mean? That means we get to put the troops. Now, it does say, let's just make sure we have a good landing. Because it says if you make the roll, I gotta look at the special scenario rules real quick. I have you with me, so I thought I would just look at that with you. Because it's the final placement. You make your morale check with following consequences. The glider passes the morale check, which is basically less than the morale. Proceed to A, which is on page 9 of the modules. The glider lands in the intended hex. Flip the glider over to the wreck side. Place all occupants on top under a moved marker. Well, that's what we're going to do. Although I got so excited about placing this up, one thing is the gliders land in the operations phase. Since this is the start of the game, technically we should be checking for initiative and then morale and swapping of support weapons and things of that nature. Since I have none of that, and the scenario says, which I didn't mention earlier, we have 7 turns, and the British have initiative for turns 1, 2, and 3. So we're coming in very stealthy. We're British ninjas right now. So if I do all that, and then boom, now we go to the operations phase. I'm going to land the gliders. Although I didn't notice this, and someone please correct me. Do they land in impulse? Glider. All gliders, included in a scenario, are placed during the same impulse. So this is an impulse for the British. All right, so we're going to land. So this would be the British impulse. They're wrecked, and they get out safely. Right. Someone might ask, what's all the hoopla over these gliders? Well, in the war, my understanding is these would be towed, and they're just gliders, so they don't have any ability to, self-power. They just kind of like a controlled fall, essentially. And during a lot of the glider, well, I can't say a lot, but from what I've heard from quite a few, maybe, glider operations, they took a lot of casualties because these gliders weren't, super rugged or anything like that. They're light, so they can, glide. So we're very lucky then that we've landed intact. So that's why I've positioned my troops the way I did over those clear open areas. So I hope this will work out. Okay, so that being said, my British impulse is good. Let me check. I don't remember it saying mark these guys with moved or anything like that. It's just an impulse and they land. Does it say mark them with moved? Yeah, again, never used gliders before. Yeah, and then place all occupants on top under a moved marker. Okay, cool. So let's get those real quick. All right, I've got everyone placed under a moved marker, and then it would be, normally that was one impulse. Then it would be the Germans' impulse, and we'd go back and forth. Problem is, the scenario rules do indicate that the Germans cannot do anything this first turn, impulse essentially, except to defend themselves in melee. Because again, this is a surprise landing. So at this point, the Germans don't know what's going on. They're about to know. So I'm actually thinking then that's it for this turn. Like the whole turn was just making sure the troops land safely is how best I can interpret that. Because it says on the first turn, the initial German forces on the playable area can only defend and counterattack in melee. No other action is allowed, although the presence of eligible German units still affect gliders' final placement. I mean, I guess technically I probably could have landed some troops past the river. And oh man, oh shoot, why didn't I do that? Then the British could have tried to take the wire. Oh my goodness, see now I'm just thinking for next time I play, I could land, totally land, because this would be clear, water is clear. I could land troops, here. Well, that's close to the German, but I could land them like right here, and then we'd be flanking the bunker. Oh man, I just thought of stuff for the next time I play. Gosh, dang it. Alright, well anyway, I'm kind of committed now to this, but I think, if there's no objection, you can correct me later, we're done for turn 1. Turn 1 is done. Well, I think what we'll do is, since we're starting a new turn, I've advanced the marker, and since the British get initiative for these first couple of turns, that part's easy to decide. We're good. But what was tougher for me is, what do I do with the British? I've got to take this side of the bridge. Since I thought of later landing across the river, I now got to take this side and push through. It's fine. We'll do it. What I'm going to do, and I've given this some thought, since I'm playing both sides, I thought what might make for an interesting scenario is I'm going to move Sergeant to Sergeant Livingston. I'm going to move him across the hedge, move him up to this hedge here for a little bit of protection, and then fire. Well, actually, here's what I was thinking. Now, because the edge of the bridge comes to the center dot, the terrain usually indicates then at the center dot that that's what the hex is. So like that should be a bridge hex, I'm guessing. And the walls then, even though they come to a point, I would be firing through the wall. And it says you count those sides of the bridge as like a wall. And walls like blind of sight. They block line of sight. So in my head, what I'm thinking is, if I move Sergeant Livingston up, he couldn't see through that blocking terrain of a wall yet, because the Germans are hiding there. They don't want to be seen. Now, on the other hand, I've got this British stack on the road. They could see. But here's my thought. Let's say Sergeant Livingston can't see. So what they do, I'm thinking I gotta move the stack, right? Because 1, 2, 3. Gosh, that's actually maybe not a good spot to be. But let's do this for the sake of daring and gung ho and charging. I pay my 1 to cross the hedge, and then the clear terrain is 1, and then that's 2. So then this would be 3. Let's say we stop right there. Now, I didn't do a assault move because technically I don't know that we have Germans in the house because they're hiding, so they're not spotted. And my understanding of the bridge, I could say, is they don't see the German at the bridge. So they know they're there, but they don't have a clear line of sight. But because this guy moved, then the German unit could fire, right? He could opportunity fire, I'm thinking. Now, when he opportunity fires, because these guys have moved, he sees them moving to position and opens up. Once they're marked with a fire marker, these guys down the road would be able to see it, and then they can return fire. So I'm like planning out a couple impulses here, which, hey, when you play solo, you want to make a story. So that's what we have. These guys come rushing up, and this German says, "Oh, Schnell," or Scheiße, whatever inappropriate language would be, and he's going to open fire. The inherent firepower of this half squad is 0. So the MG42 is 3. Now it is nighttime, but luckily, again, because we can see out to 3 hexes, they're fine because it's 2 away and they can see them out to 3. But now that they're adjacent, excuse me, they're adjacent to the hedge, they should be able to see them because they're adjacent to it. I'm trying to find my terrain thing here. Hedges, it blocks. Well, if you're adjacent to it, can you see? I would think so. Yeah, if you're adjacent to it, I believe you can see. Blocks line of sight trace through from a hex through the hedge it forms. Negates movement modifier. I just, for some reason, that's what comes to mind, is if they're like adjacent to hedge or bocage, you can shoot at them, but they get that protection modifier, which, oh, there is no target modifier for hedges. Uh-oh. Well, I didn't consider that at first. I thought they had like a 1 or something. Oh my goodness, I just charged my poor British up. They're gonna get slaughtered now. Okay, so this is a very bad learning experience for me. Well, you might be saying, well, why would you do all that? Well, I don't know if you ever saw, if you didn't see my first video, this is actually my first times playing Lock and Load Tactical, and this is game number 2 for me. And so I have never played this scenario. And so as I learn some of the, the rules as I go along and as I play, I'm starting to see poor decisions that I'm making. My hope is that's how you learn. If I had an experienced opponent, that's somebody that I could discuss tactics with and understand that hedges cost a point to cross, but don't give you a target modifier bonus. So they're not in a good spot right now. Okay, so we're gonna fire. So they have 3. All right. So I'm gonna put a dice roller here. I'm trying to see where I can put the dice roller so you can see it, but it's not knocking over stacks of counters. I think right there would be good. All right, so I got gray for the Germans. I'm gonna use, I don't have a specific die for the British. I haven't bought any British expansions for my other heroes in Normandy to get a special British die, so they're just going to use the American Allied die. So let's see how we do. Well, that's bad for the British. So the German rolled a 6. Add his 3, so that's a grand total of 9 for his firepower. That's really good out the gate. Then the British, since they have no terrain modifiers, oh, and actually I got to add +1 because the British were moving. Okay, this is not working out the way I thought it would. Then the British rolled a 3. That's a difference of 7. That's bad, okay? I'm just going to throw that out there. So that means when I do my morale check, I got to add 7. And that means a lot. Oh no. Okay. Well, let's see how this goes. This might actually be a very short game then. But live and learn. I'll do better next time, because right now that is going to actually, every unit is going to fail, but I'm going to have to roll to see how badly they fail. Because if it's just fail by 1 time, they're shaken, they'll have a chance to rally and come back from that. Double means casualties. And then you don't come back from casualties, you're going to have a permanent loss of troops here. So that could be very bad. All right, so let's go ahead. What did I say that was? A difference of 7. Okay. Because I rolled... yeah, because I went up to 10 because of the moving. Gosh, okay, well, here we go. We're going to check Sergeant Livingston. Well, Sergeant Livingston doesn't even have a positive modifier anyway, so Screw him if he dies. So 5 plus 7 is 12. That is double. So not only is he shook, okay, so I'm going to flip him on his shaken side, but for people like that, that's a wound. Gotta find me a wound. Here's a wounded marker. Great. So his leadership morale, he can't affect adjacent hexes, and his leadership modifier is still 0. Okay, well, that sucks. He's still going to be needed for rallying because these guys don't have a self-rally option. So he's still needed for rallying. All right, so here we go. 6. Again, I got to add 7 to these rolls. 12, that's double. Oh, man. Unreal. Okay, let me look at the module rules because I got to bust him down. I grab for the British squad reduction. They're not the French, so they're going to drop to a British 154 half squad. Okay, let me go grab that. I feel I might need more. All right, so I brought out, they are reduced and shaken. Okay, then I got the next squad down. That's 11, so it's less than, so there are no casualties, but they are shaken, and that's the 51mm team. Okay, so not so good there. All right, next squad down. Plus 3, that's 10, so again, they're shaken. And that's the Bren, my inherent Bren group. Oh, I brought their glider with them. They don't need to bring the broken glider, so we'll just put the glider back. Alrighty, well that was bad. Bad decisions were made that day. I did, while I was finding those half squads, I said to myself, maybe we would just start over and not do that and then land some people across the bridge so we can come at it from both sides. And I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and play this out because I actually don't mind you see me learn from horrible mistakes. You know, maybe that will help somebody out there who's learning the game too. I actually did get a couple comments from folks that said, you know, they might give this a try. The game really isn't that horribly complicated as far as like the basics rules. Yeah, the book has, like, especially if you go the 5.0 rules, you know, it's a lot more pages, a lot more content, but again, it's a lot more examples. It's got like the built-in infantry play example and a whole bunch of good stuff. So it's not like 200 pages of just straight rules. Plus, just read what you need to play. So I've got the basics on moving, shooting, trying to remember some of these modifiers and things that you have. And the first few scenarios are pretty much just like infantry, and they just add a few things as you go. There's nothing here that is, you know, overly whelming other than your poor tactics starting out. And that's what you're witnessing here. But there you go. I'm going to mark him with a fire because my original story was, you know, some British run up. He fires. He can now be seen and fired at by this group of British commandos here because they fired. Now the thing is, because they're outside that range 3, they do get a penalty. I'm going to go see what that is. Oh, it's right here. Night combat. I love these reference cards. A lot of what you need is right there. If you're outside of that range, it's like -3 firepower. Great. Well, you know, it is what it is. Well, let's see what they can do. So this would be their impulse. So first of all, they actually have a captain. Well, let me see. He's got decisive. Let me see what decisive is. Hold on. Maybe that will help. All right, so I'm looking at the chart, and it says if you're greater than double, because 12 is greater than double, but less than 3, a good order MMC, because he is good order, he just happens to be a half squad, but it says he'll take casualties. And then casualties on an already half squad, eliminate a half squad or weapon team. So he is eliminated. So his weapon will stay there, but he comes off. So that weapon team is done. And then we mark Lord Holmes. Oh, that's not Lord Holmes. We mark Captain MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod with a fired. Well, isn't that interesting? Okay. Things are shaping up here. Now we got some choices here. Now I thought about this for a second too, because I've put myself in another bad position. Like, I thought that was cool, the whole shooting crossfire thing. But what I've done now is these guys are moving. So they're technically still spotted. And they fired, they're spotted. So an option that I have with the German unit here is shoot at the fired group, but because they're beyond 3, they'd have that penalty to fire. But they have no problem shooting at these guys in the open that move, and they're bringing a lot more firepower. I think the German unit is going to open fire here on the British over here, because they've already got a whole bunch of wounded and shaken folks, so they might actually take that platoon out. Not what I had planned for, but an interesting story nonetheless. So let's see here. We've got 1 firepower for the captain. Well, I say 1 firepower, but he adds, his modifier to the roll, I guess. Maybe we should check that. Is it to the roll or to the firepower? I ask questions like that a lot. Okay, I was right. It's to the firepower. It's like the overall firepower there, so that's fine. So we'll go. He's going to contribute 1 for his leadership modifier to the firepower. Now I do have a squad in here that's got the MG42, which does MG34. It does not have a tripod mode, so it's going to have firepower 2. The squad assigned to it is the base 1, so they have their inherent firepower 4, or of 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 firepower. These 2 squads, because they're the additional firers, they add half their firepower each. So together they'll make another 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 firepower. That sounds about right. 5 firepower. So I got my little die tracker. And because it's nighttime, but this scenario says you can fire out to 3, there's no penalty there. And then the hedge offers no target modifier. So it's going to be their roll and their bonus against the roll that I make over here, just a straight roll. Again, this could be a very horrible, horrible thing that I've done to these troops. I'm glad they're just cardboard chits. Alright, so what do we have? Okay, so that would make a grand total firepower of 8. Well, now I'm going to add 1 more because, again, they're moving. I always seem to forget that. So that brings my total firepower to 9 for the Germans, because again they moved, so they get a +1 for the moving. Then the Americans have, well, they did roll, not the Americans, the British rolled a 5. So now we're going to make that, subtract that, so that's a difference of 4 that we're going to be making against the morale. Well, that's still bad. Trying to find the positive. So we've already got a wounded leader here. Let's see how he does. Remember, we're going to roll less than 6. I have to add 4, so I got to roll 1s and 2s essentially. The leader gets a 4. Alright, now I got to look at my chart here. Now it does say hero shaken, and it's greater than, less than. It says he's wounded. Now if he's already wounded, flip it. Units under a wounded marker who are wounded again are eliminated. Yep. Alright, so he did get a wound because he was already wounded. Well, he was shaken, and then that causes a wound. If he was good order, he would go to shaken, but he was already shaken. Yeah, so I have a feeling, I got a feeling this, and then, well, let me tell you what's bad, is now I have to get a leader over here, another leader, so we can try and save these people. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're going to add 4. They need 1s or 2s. A 2. Okay, they don't get any worse, but they don't have a self-rally capability. Okay, and then this shaken half squad, they are gone because again, it's a shaken. It is considered a multi-man counter even though it's got one dude on it, but it's a half squad. So it's a shaken, it takes casualties, so it's already the result of a casualty from earlier. So they are eliminated. And then this shaken unit here, roll a 6. 6 plus 4 is 10, so that's less than double, but it is a shaken, so they do take casualties. So I'll just stick that other half on there. So the Bryn team is not doing so well. Okay, so that platoon, we'll put a fire on the Germans. That platoon, I did them no favors. All right, now we do have another British unit, which are over here. All right, yeah, so we've got these British, they got it clear. 1, 2, 3. I think I bumped my map a little bit. I tried to line this up. Yeah, it's still lined up. Right where the two maps, it's never quite always a perfect cut. So I just see these kind of overlapping problems sometimes. That's not a fault of the game because it's just me and my ability to line things up. So it throws me off for a sec. Anyhow, as I ramble, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm 5 hexes away. They would be considered now spotted because they fired. I could shoot at them, but see, they get the protection of the house plus that, according to the chart, if I read it right, -3 on the firepower for nighttime shooting outside of range. Yeah, so I could assault move, but again, like if I assault move up, assault move is -2, so I could probably assault move up. Let's see, if I move here, if I move to this, I only get half movement. You know what? I forgot, this guy's got decisive. He can shoot again. He can shoot again. And I think he can see past the hedges there. They're going to shoot. They are going to shoot. They are going to assault move. So they're going to get half their movement. Their movement is 4, I believe. I'm trying to look here without knocking my stack over. So they can move half 1. See, if I move up just 1, that puts me, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. If I move, assault move up, I'd have a -2 penalty instead of a -3 for shooting outside my line of sight. Let's do that. Let's do that. I'm going to grab this stat carefully. So this is their second action as decisive, and they will fire again, so I'm going to leave that fire marker. So let's recalculate that, because now it's 1 to the firepower for the leader. These two guys at, well, the Piat. I didn't see a limit on how often I could shoot the Piat. And it has, well, okay, here's the thing with the Piat. Maybe I should do this different. I was just thinking about this. It's not a regular support weapon, so I probably did this wrong before when I shot at this lone guy. I don't think it would make too much difference because I had a lot of firepower going at him. Maybe it would have. But see, here's the Piat. The Piat, it is a support weapon, but it actually also has this chart on it. So I technically can only shoot it out to 2 hexes. So honestly, yes, because I didn't think about that at first. I honestly caught myself cheating. The Piat only has a range of 2. Technically then, it should not have been able to add to that firepower attack. It's possible that German guy lived. So we won't add 2 for the Piat. Okay, well, there you go then. Plus it has a gray square around it. They probably can't assault move if it's got a gray square because they have to be stationary. So we won't add the Piat at all. So we'll add the 2 squads. They're half each, so they're going to add 1 plus 1 of the leader. We're at 2 so far. Inherent firepower of that squad, we're at to 3. And then we're at to 4 total for the Bren. 4 total. Now that I cheated with the Piat. So that's 4. Now, because I did assault move, I gotta leave the glider behind. I keep grabbing the glider. But I'm gonna subtract 2 because it is assault move. We're close enough that the nighttime penalty doesn't. I think we're good now. I think we're cooking with gas. I caught my cheating ways with the Piat. So this roll here, I think, is completely legitimate. Oh man. Okay, well, first of all, that's going to give 7 for the Americans. And an incredible defense for the Germans in the house, because that's a 6 that they rolled there. Add the modifier for the house, and that is a heavy building, which adds 4. So that's 10. Yeah, we did not hit anything. They are entrenched in that house. All right, perfect. So we got to bring. Here's the thing. I can bring this guy up then. Can you see him? Yeah, I got to bring him up. 1. If we double move, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can get adjacent. 4, 5, 6. I can pop into the house, and we could do a huge stack of melee. Yeah, because we've got melee rules. And if I double move, there's no opportunity fire because the bunker that's off camera is facing a different direction than the units inside. So it's 2 to move into that building. I think we're gonna do it. Can we assault move into? I don't think you can assault, or you can double move. Yeah, I'm not assault moving. I'm double moving. I think we're gonna move into melee. 1, 2, and remember this marsh is clear according to the scenario rules. I think we'll do that. 1, 2. Did I bring their glider? Why am I there? Oh, you know what happened earlier? Okay, let me tell you a story. I accidentally knocked his stack over. So when I set him up, I put him here in this woods. That's not where he was. Dang! I keep thinking of all these cool things to do, and then I realize I made an error and can't actually do it. When I knocked over his stack and set it back up, I set it back up in the wrong hex. He hasn't done anything because last turn he exited the glider, so he's not in this copse of woods there. So I don't actually have 6 movement points to spend to jump into melee in that building. That little copse of woods there, that's brush. That is 1 movement point, easy. So still, with 6 movement points, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would need 7 movement points to jump into that building. Oh, this is not good. So what I can do, though, is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to move them, though, to the trees. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into those trees. And let me grab a move. Now, that will give me options later because then I can either fire from that position, which I have some defense, or I can, make an assault move then if I then have those guys spotted. So I think we're done with this turn. We'll wrap it up. Normally, we take the markers off. I'm starting to learn the turn sequence a little bit, some things you do at the end. But I still got my handy chart. So we're going to remove the admin. We would flip smoke, remove star shells, flip remove. We don't have fire for effect. Now this is important because when these markers come off, nobody is spotted because we're hidden, I believe, if I remember right. Now, if I had fired and say like left the hex for some reason, or the people in the hex died, it said like you could put the spotted, because that hex is like spotted for that turn. But now that the turn is over, we take the markers off. If they don't meet requirements for being spotted, basically they've hidden back down inside the house. So I know they're in the house, I don't know where. So what that means is, on this particular setup, these guys, because the hedge offers no protection, so they, I guess, would be considered, what does hedge offer? Hedge is, it is blocking. So they are, luckily, not spotted again. So they're not spotted. These guys are on the road. They are spotted. In the house, not spotted. In the woods, not spotted. So if I advance turn marker to 3, I don't have any rally attempts to make because I have no good order leader over here to yell at them. So they're just going to sit there like that for a while. Germans are fine. They're not going to do anything. British have initiative. Now, if I move, so I'm close enough to the house where if I move like a single squad out, I could draw fire. And then, see, this guy with decisive is pretty good. I could probably send like a Lord Home, one of his squads out to try and draw fire, which would make them then spotted to where they could shoot, or because they fired, they wouldn't be able to do opportunity fire. Then I could rush into melee, kind of a thing. So that's probably what we'll do. Let's do that. So I'm going to take one of these squads from Mr. Lord Holmes, and they're going to move. So he activates here, and he says, all right, boys, go get them. Fix bayonets and all that goodness. Grab a cup of tea, and they come running. The Germans don't know where they're going. So they say, well, maybe they're going to run past us. So the British move again. Now, the Germans, feeling that, they could withstand a melee, they decide, but we're going to open fire. So these guys they're in the process of moving, technically, right? So let's say they don't take any damage. They could hop into the house. And then that would be kind of rough because that would initiate. So let's say he is assault moving, right? So he's going to assault move. He gets 2 movement points. So before he does his assault fire, the German player opens fire because he's like, well, he's adjacent and he gets a bonus to firepower when adjacent. So we better see if we can hit him first. So he's got 1 to the firepower for the leadership modifier. And he will add a half. He will add a half. So that's 1 between the two of them. 3, because they will add their full firepower. 4, 5 for the MG34. So we've got 5. Okay. So I got my little reminder. So let's roll the dice. I'm going to just plop it there for a second. Okay, so the German player gets a total of 7. Now, they're adjacent. They get to add 2 to that firepower. Can't forget that. So that's going to make it 9 total. Oh, and we moved. I don't think I added for move, so that's 10. 10 because the British are moving. And the British is in the open. So they just get their straight up roll of 3. So that's going to be 7 that we add to the roll. See, this is why you send the sacrificial squads, because they're just there to draw fire. Kind of a sucky way to do it, but that's going to mark them with a fired. But we got to make a morale roll. So we're going to add 7. That's not going to bode well for that squad right there. Yeah, 6. Oh, 6. Hey, that's bad. because you want to roll low on that there damage check. So 6 plus 7 is 13. That is more than double because they got morale of 6. So on a good ordered multi-man counter, more than twice, less than 3, it is casualties. Well, I gotta go grab another casualty marker. All right, so they do come in shaken, and they got some casualties, but they're now marked fired. So yeah, I got options. I can shoot at them with 1 stack, and maybe try to score a shaken because that will take somebody out of combat. If I can shake, they got a +4 defense though. That's a really strong nut to crack. Both of those leaders have a 1 leadership modifier, so that's actually not too bad. I wish instead of they all have a Bren. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Captain McLeod can shoot twice, and then Lord Holmes can lead the charge. Lord Holmes is down a squad though. So why don't we shoot? We'll probably end up shooting twice with Captain McLeod, and then charge in with Lord Holmes. Or, well, we can shoot once with Captain McLeod or with Lord Holmes, and then we can shoot once with Captain McLeod, and then charge with Captain McLeod because he's got the extra squad. That's what I'm gonna do. So perfect. And I'm only saying that because I've got another German squad over here in the bunker that's off camera. It's just they are a 054. All they bring is their MG42 in tripod mode. I mean, I could put them in bipod, but they need to hold that side of the bridge. Yeah, we've got to take this house here. That's what we're going to do. So Captain McLeod, the Clan McLeod, they're going to shoot. All right, so again, it's they're not adjacent. So if we did a move adjacent, if we did an assault move, they get assault move and get an adjacent bonus. Yeah, why don't we do that? And then they can do a move. Ooh, and these guys could do an assault move, get adjacent to the house. All right, we're going to do that. Assault move. 1, 2. We're assaulting the house. They're reloading the MG42. Let's see. What does that special bonus give them? Oh, it says units with the little A superscript get +3 when firing adjacent. Assaulters do. And is that per squad? So half of that would be 1.5. Let's see. So Captain, with his decisive, goes here. So he's 1. They get +3 to the firepower. So it's 1 plus 3. So that's 4. Half of that is 2. Half of that is 2. Because he's the same thing. Because they're adjacent. So that's 4 right there. Plus 1 is 5 right there. 5. And then he gets the full amount. So 5, 6, so that's 9. And then add 1 for the Bren is 10. So that is a huge kill stack adjacent with those guys. Man, well, if you've listened to my math, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like each squad that's adjacent. Let me check in the rule and just see if that's like an overall, but it looks like it's per squad. Okay, I'm glad I read that because it does say for the stack. All right, not per unit. So if you only have 1 in there, it makes it a 3 for adjacent, not 2 for the whole stack. Okay, so let's do that again. Trying to be fair. 1 for the leader. Then these two, let's see, he would only add half, and he adds a half. So that's actually 2. 2 points between the two of them. He would make it 3 because he's the one the key unit here, and then 4 For the Brin, add 3. So that is 7. Okay, that seems not as cool, but it is fair. All right, so we got a total of 7 firepower into the house. Now we are going to subtract 4 for the building that they're in. So we are adding 3 to our rolls. It's respectable, I guess. So let's go ahead and roll and see if we actually hurt them at all. Let's get both in here. Yeah, I think we're going to do we're going to cause the damage checks. Yeah, I didn't roll any ones last time for hero creation. Okay, so let's see. So that's going to give the Germans a total of 5. I guess what I should have done, hold on, I think I don't need to subtract that 4. Hold on a second. They had 7. Yeah, we don't subtract it yet. It's going to be 7 plus 2, that makes it 9. So they have a total of 9 firepower right now. I can see that I'm trying to go through this too quickly, so I'm making some mistakes, but I'm catching them. So it's firepower. They had firepower. They had a terrain modifier of 4. They rolled 2. That gives them a grand total of 6 compared to the Germans' 9. So that means I'm going to carry over 3 points. So I just got to slow down. Again, little mistakes are me, not the rule set. But that means now these folks will make damage check rolls, and they're going to have a 3 against the morale because we are adjacent and just pouring it on into the windows and whatnot. All right, so let's roll here. So first we've got the leader. He's got a morale of 6. All right, so 9. All right, so 9. It's 6 plus 3 is 9. I know that shakes him. It's not double, so he doesn't get wounded, but he is shaken. And that means he doesn't get to use his modifier of 1 for these guys to make their checks. So now we have morale of 5, if you can't see that very well. So again, 6 plus 3 is 9, not quite double. So he is shaken. Okay, next unit. 3 and 3 is 6. That is 1 pass there, so he is shaken as well. Uh-oh. Let's see if we can shake the MG42 team. 5 and 3 is 8. That is higher than the morale. We may have just broken the game. We'll find out in a second. Why do I say that, you might ask? Because I just shook everybody in that house. I just shook. And when it comes to melee, if there's no good order units in there and you charge it, you wipe them out. So we just fired. They need their fire marker. I need to get a fire. That's an impulse. Now, the German player, his impulse would be going, I'll keep the guy in the bunker. Because if I move him out, he's got no cover. It's all open. And his buddies are dying. Okay, so he'll pass. All right, cool, passes. Then we come back, and he says, I'm decisive, so I'm going to act again. And this time, yeah, we're going to charge into this stack, and it would initiate a melee, and we wipe them out because everybody in here is shaken. That is my understanding of melee. Okay, so we just wow. Usually if something goes that good, that means I've done something wrong in the rules. Yeah, well, we'll play the story out. Maybe these, but on the one hand, though, if I think about this for a second, this fits a little bit of a narrative. The British came in on gliders. They snuck up. The Germans were caught completely unaware. Firefighting took place. The Germans did get in a good licking on a platoon over here of British, and then 2 British platoons came up, and now they're just laying fire into this house on this platoon. It kind of makes sense that it would happen that way, and so we take it because we moved in. Now, the problem with these cheap tweezers is they don't have a very wide, flat grip. I'm going to try another pair of tweezers. Let me see if I got another pair. I grabbed a pair that are a little bit fatter. Maybe that will make a difference. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to take that. Melee starts right away. They died because they're all shaken. Didn't have to roll. But what that means is I did capture an MG-34. And squads can carry up to 2. I think I got a squad. Yeah. That's decisive as the leader. I'm going to give that MG-34 to, oh, that's the Piat team. Piat. I thought they got a Bren. I thought I had a squad in here with nothing. I do. So now we've got, this squad has everything. All right, well, there. Wow, I'm going to say that was all legitimate. But now we're going to open event B. I will move them in the house in a moment, but usually these markers start off with remove the event marker. So I got these guys in the house. Let's see what happens in there. Okay, so what does it say here? In hex 17G, that's where that's at. We're going to take that off and read it. If there wasn't an activation by turn 5, there'd be a dice roll by the Germans to see if we activate the paragraph. But since I charged into that place, here's what it says. Read paragraph 2. Remove the event marker B. Continue current impulse. The garrison and tank pool near La Porte has been alerted of invading paratroopers. German reinforcements are on their way. On the following German impulse, these forces enter via hexes 1405, 14H1, 05, well, 0. Oh, they're coming behind. Oh, well, no wonder we got Piats. Because we're going to end up with, so a Panzer, Sergeant Beck, and 3. Okay, well, there we go. I just thought we won the match by wiping out that platoon. Turns out they're okay. They got reinforcements. So let me go grab those, stick them on the map.